What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday. Making the turn on this week. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in from. Whether it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Checking us out online, sportstalk1051.com. Stream it up over there. You got your app. Download that. Take it on the go. Smart devices, video streams, Facebook and YouTube here this morning. If you're already up and at it, it's a big thanks for making us part of your start here this morning. What do we got on a good old game plan for us? We're going to talk some Brewers. Brewers, looks like the off day might have done them some good, picking up a 7-2 victory last night over the Pittsburgh Pirates. 7-2 victory. Tobias Myers going just 4 innings. Colin Ray coming in relief, too, pitching an inning and a third. Could that give us maybe a little bit of an insight on what potentially could be the plan for the pitching rotation once we get to the postseason? Got some more stuff on that coming up here too. So, but nonetheless, Brewers picking up their 90th win of the season, back-to-back seasons where they have had at least 90 wins. And even as you know, with recent history, with their success getting to the playoffs and that, this is the first time since 1978 and 1979 that the Brewers have had 90 wins in consecutive seasons. This has only happened twice. It's only happened twice for the Brewers, but they did it again and looking to maybe add more to that win total right now. So Brewers will be back at it again tonight. Freddie Peralta making the starts, which will most likely be his final start before the postseason, his final tune-up here before the postseason. Be interesting to see how long he goes. Is it a little bit of a shorter starts with Freddie Peralta? Is it more of a normal type of thing out there? So, but we'll talk about that game tonight. But also, I kind of mentioned already, but I want to talk about the potential plan for how this starting rotation is going to look like once we get to the postseason here. With the win, the Brewer and with the win and a Dodgers loss and a Phillies loss, the Brewers moved up closer, a little bit closer to one of those two spots. There's 3 back from the top spot, 2.5 back from Philly right now for the second spot. So still in that hunt. They're still in that hunt right now for hopefully, potentially, maybe getting one of those top 2 spots. Dodgers, well, first of all, we had more teams last night clinch spots. Padres clinched a playoff spot. I mean, you're talking about a team that is just a humming right now, 9-1 in their last 10, and they've won 5 in a row. And they ended that game last night on a triple play. That's a way to clinch your playoff spot. End the game on a triple play. Come on now. But we've got the Dodgers, we've got the Phillies, we've got the Padres, and now we've got the Brewers all clinching playoff spots, which means we just got a couple more spots left to go here for at least the National League. And Braves making a late push here. They picked up a win last night against the Mets. Shouldn't say a late push. It's kind of been back and forth already. But the Braves just a half game out now from the Diamondbacks for the final spot, just a game back from the Mets for that other wild card spot. So it's going to come down to the wire here for this National League. And again, Brewers Mets to finish off the season. It'll be interesting to see how both those teams, where they're at. I think we all know the Mets are still going to be probably fighting for a playoff spot, for a wild card spot, but where will the Brewers be in terms of standings when they get to that series that starts on Friday? The Astros also clinching a spot. They win their division. So we've got the Yankees, the Guardians, Baltimore, and Houston all clinching spots. The Tigers continue to roll. They're holding on right now. Kansas City picked up a win But the Twins are falling a little bit behind now. They're 2 games out of that final wild card spot. Seattle 2.5. Boston trying to make a late push here too, winning their last 4, but they're 3.5 back right now from the postseason standing, or from the wild card spot. So we'll talk some baseball coming up here this morning, and take a look at maybe the potential plan here for the Brewers when it comes to their starting rotation, and maybe not as cut and dry in certain parts that we kind of thought would happen with this Brewers team. We'll explain that coming up here in just a little bit. We'll talk a little gritty gold as the Packers return to practice to get set for their huge game, big game against their division rival, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings, easily one of the bigger surprises in the league, going 3-0 to begin the season, including big time wins against the 49ers and the Houston Texans. So, but this also begins a stretch. I shouldn't say begins a stretch, because it's already been a stretch for the Vikings when they've won games against the Vikings and Texans. But they've got the Pack coming up here. Then they've got the Aaron Rodgers comes back to Minnesota over there. Then they got the Lions there too. So I mean, got to give credit to Minnesota right now. As painful as it is, Packers fans got to give them credit. This is a tough portion of their schedule, and well, they're undefeated right now. So this is going to be a big test here for the Pack. We'll see about Jordan Love again. I would expect him to practice today, but as Matt LaFleur said on Monday, he'll be limited. I don't think they'll announce him as he's fully back in the starter. Got to imagine maybe there's going to be a little gamesmanship here, but I mean, everybody seems, I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people, majority seem to think this is the game for him to return to. So we'll see. But I kind of threw out that question yesterday. Starting to see some people throwing it out there on the, at least on the socials and that. But are you a little concerned with how or are you a little concerned if Jordan Love's a little rusty to begin the year? Are you concerned a little bit there that he could be a little rusty in this game, because he's played one game, the first game, but he's missed the last two, and this is a big game. Are you concerned about that aspect? I mean, eventually he's going to have to play, so it's not like you could just sit him because he's rusty and go with Malik Willis the whole time. But is that going to be a factor in this game? I don't know. But as part of our midweek adjustments, I want to talk about who would have and who would have thought that we'd be sitting here saying, how do we kind of maybe slow down or stop a guy like Sam Darnold? What's the game plan to go up against Sam Darnold? So that's going to be part of our midweek adjustments here coming up a little bit later on here too, because you got to give Sam Darnold credit. I don't know how the voting is going to go for comeback player of the years. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is going to get a ton of votes and attention and that, and we'll see about Kirk Cousins. But I got to imagine if Sam Darnold continues to play this way, I mean, maybe he'd be part of that conversation. I mean, you look at what he's done so far this year: 67.9 completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 117.3 quarterback rating, just 2 picks. So, but we'll get to that coming up here a little bit. We got a little business of sports coming at you too. We'll get to that in the 8 o'clock hour. We'll hit that up, and we'll get to your thoughts too. What's on your mind here this morning? Hit me up with some text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Or you can comment on the video streams or hit me up on the socials at DANKASPER, Facebook.com/Casper Sports. But we're going to begin this morning on the leadoff coming up here, talking a little baseball, talking a little Brewers baseball here. The Crew picking up a 7-2 victory last night. Willie Adames also joining the 2020 club with his 20th steal last night. Obviously, he's got more than 20 home runs, but also joining that club along with his teammate, Jackson Chirio here. But we'll give you some updates on some of the injuries, and could we see some more bullpen arms potentially being called up here? And what's what's the plan for how the starting rotation is going to kind of work out, or how what's the plan for the Brewers when it comes to their starting rotation when it gets to the postseason? Maybe we got a little bit of a glimpse of that. Maybe we got a little bit of an idea, and maybe for a lot of us, a little bit different than what we anticipated. So let's get to that. All right, first break coming up here, and we'll get things rolling here with the leadoff. I want to hear from you though. All right, hit me up with some texts, whatever. What's on your mind here this morning? Okay, hit me up. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Don't forget to get your picks in for our Pro Football Weekly Pick'em Challenge right at our website, sportstalk1051.com. Just click on the Fan Cave tab over there and make your picks if you haven't done so already, because we've already got games tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football. I'm talking to you, Mr. Brandenburg, who is currently sitting at the airport and listening to us over there. So even though you're heading out on an airplane, don't forget to get your picks in, Mr. Berg over there. I don't want any excuses from you. All right. So safe travels to our very dear friend, good buddy, Brandon Berg, and Rocky and B's mom out there, as they're going to be traveling, take a little time off. But appreciate you guys tuning in at the airport over there too. That's pretty sweet. All right, let's well, hopefully we could do Brandon a little bit of justice here. He's our Brewers expert here, so hopefully we can do him a little justice. Talking some Brewers here this morning. Crew picking up a 7-2 victory last night over the Pirates. Off day looked like it may have done the team pretty darn well. But picking up that victory in game one of their 3-game series, moved up a little bit in terms of the standings, as they're still alive for potentially a top 2 spot, thanks to the Phillies and Dodgers both losing. But last night we had Cheerio collecting a couple of hits, improving his average to 275, 798 OPS. Willie Adames also collecting couple of hits. He improved his OPS to an 802 overall. The Brewers, 6 hits, 7 runs that scored, 7 RBIs there. But Tobias Myers pitched just 4 innings, giving up 6 hits, 2 earned runs, couple Ks. And we had Colin Ray coming out of the bullpen too, pitching an inning and a third of relief. Actually gets credited with the hold last night. And something that we have been trying to speculate on, trying to figure out here, is how does that starting rotation going to look like for the Brewers once they get to the postseason here? And maybe we're getting a little bit of a glimpse of that. Now, if you head to brewers.com, Adam McCalvey has a good piece up there too. We're trying to play a little maybe matchmaker, or try to solve this mystery here based off what we've seen and how some of these pitchers have been utilized and such. But Adam McCalvey's got a piece up with 1 week before the playoffs. What are the Brewers' top priorities? And one of them is the starting rotation. Sort out the starters. I think we know Freddie Peralta's probably going to get the ball in game 1. And if they are going to be that 3rd seed in the National League, going to be playing next Tuesday. After that, we've kind of dabbled back and forth on it. I think a lot of us just kind of assumed, okay, Colin Ray is probably going to be in there, throwing Tobias Myers and such, and those would be the 3, but maybe not. As Adam McCauley noted, Frankie Montas is the front runner to start game 2, or as he says, pitch in bulk behind an opener, based on his experience and the way he'd been pitching before a blow-up game against the Diamondbacks this past Sunday. And then what's the plan for Tobias, for Savali, for Colin Ray and such? And maybe we got a little bit of an example of this, and it was a few days ago too. Remember, Colin Ray came out of the bullpen and such, and pitched well, picked up his first career save. But as McCauley notes, Ray has been ping-ponging between the rotation and bullpen in recent outings, and including it pitching 1 1/3 innings on a Tuesday in a game started by, as we mentioned last night, by Tobias Myers. So could that be a potential piggyback sort of thing? Maybe is the plan going to be for Colin Ray to come out of the bullpen? Tobias Myers, you look at the numbers, I mean, 3.09 ERA, 134 innings. But how much do you factor in that he's a rookie? And his start could potentially come on a do or die game 3 sort of situation, maybe a little bit of a high risk one right there. So if it is Freddie Peralta and then it's Frankie Montas, it honestly maybe is just kind of all hands on deck. Maybe you throw Tobias, Colin Ray, Aaron Savali, all those guys out there, or is Frankie and Savali as part of a 1-2 sort of thing? I'm really curious to know. Apparently, last night too, Pat Murphy said, "quote We're mapping all that out right now, holding up a sheet of paper with a grid of pitching contingencies out there." So, I mean, at one point they got a lot of options, but at the same time, maybe a lot of options too could be like, okay, what do we, are they all great options? Are they all good options? And you better hit the right option too, if you know what I mean. And the other part of this too is the bullpen. So remember, 26-man rosters, you got a maximum of 13 pitchers, must be set on the morning of game 1. Okay. And when we come down to the Brewers, for just kind of a little bit of a reference sake here, the Brewers went with 11 pitchers and 15 position players in their wild card round against Arizona. So, does that mean they'll do the same? And not necessarily. It'll be interesting to see what Brian Hudson, if he's going to be able to get called back up and make an appearance over there. He's been, kind of down in AAA trying to work out his mechanics and such. He's still in a mix. You've got Nick Mears. Pat Murphy, though, noted too that you'd like to see him kind of get some work in at a big league game and all that too. So I mean, they've got other guys kind of in the bullpen as a bullpen option in AAA with Hudson and Mears. You factor those guys in. We know Devin Williams is going to be in there. Probably Trevor McGill. What what what's that bullpen? Going to kind of look like? Again, options over there too. Bryce Wilson's in the discussion. To maybe get a little bit of a glimpse of all that right now with how this pitching is kind of being utilized here. Who knows? But definitely some tough decisions to be had by Murphy, by Matt Arnold, and this Brewers team as they inch a little bit closer and closer as they start to wrap up this postseason. And right now, I think the mindset is, I know the other day we were kind of talking about what's the mindsets entering in this final week here. Players probably want to keep pushing, they want to keep playing for it, but on the other hand, managers and general manager Matt Arnold probably have to kind of keep an eye on towards the postseason here too, and maybe not try to overwork guys, overwork everything and such. But I mean, at this point, I think you still got to go for it here a little bit, right? I kind of want that aggressive mentality, and even if it doesn't work out where you don't pitch or where you don't get one of those top 2 seeds, carry that aggressive mentality into the postseason here, because I think regardless of who they play, I think regardless of who the Brewers play, if they are that 3 seed, I think there's going to be a good chunk of fans. I think it's probably not going to be the Padres. Who knows? But the Padres are playing incredibly well. You got the Mets, who we will see this weekend, and again, that could be a team that's, on one hand, that final series with the Brewers coming in. If the Mets are all in, they got to win to get in, sort of thing. They could carry that momentum just a couple days later into their series against the Brewers. On the other hand, they use all that energy to get in. Maybe the Brewers can come back and take advantage of that. Maybe a little bit of a letdown from the Mets, kind of like a sigh of relief. Okay, we're in. And then Brewers kind of, sneak attack on there and get. I mean, there's both sides to that. And I think Brewers fans, there's probably a good bunch that would be kind of nervous going up against the Diamondbacks again. Last year and just recently what we saw. Atlanta's pretty darn banged up, but, you got a couple pitchers there that could give the Brewers offense some fits, some troubles. So I don't really want to play the whole who would you rather play type of thing when it comes to this series, because I mean, we can make arguments, we can make cases good and bad for both. Just win the dang game. Just win the dang series. You know, just go out there and do your business. You're a 90-win team. 90 wins, at least 90 wins, consecutive years for the first time. This is actually that again that nugget kind of surprised me. First time since 78 and 79, back-to-back years that the Brewers have won at least 90 games. For all these recent years where they have gone to the postseason, where they've, you know, got in under Craig Counsell and such. It's the first time since the 70s that they've gone back-to-back 90-plus win seasons. So that's another milestone. That's another credit, to this team. Added that notch on your belt over there. Freddie Peralta is going to get the start tonight for the Crew, and I'll be curious to see how do they quote unquote manage Freddie Peralta tonight? Are they going to treat it like a normal game? I mean, this is a guy that, let's face it, dude has pitched all year, right? He's been a pretty stable between him and Colin Ray. Knock on wood, they haven't missed games. Freddie's 7 strikeouts away from eclipsing 200 strikeouts on the season. But do they let him go out there? Probably. Do they try to stretch him? Do they treat it as a normal game type of thing where, try to go out there as much? Or do they have a pitch count on him? Do they have an inning count on him to make sure he's fresh and ready to go, potentially for next Tuesday? Obviously, if they get a bye, it's going to be a little bit longer after that. But we'll see how it all kind of plays out here tonight when you're looking at some of the matchups here with Freddie Peralta, who's 11-8, 3.69 ERA so far on the season. Obviously, got quite a bit of experience with some of these Pirates hitters who have been around for a little bit. De La Cruz, 12 at-bats, got a homer, 250. McCutcheon's 417 and 12 at-bats. Reynolds, a whopping 429 with a 1.158 OPS against Freddie Peralta. He's kind of had his numbers over there. Ortiz is on the other side here for the Pirates, and the Brewers have a couple games worth of experience over there. Not a ton to write home about. Contreras in 7 at bats is 571 with a 1.76 ERA. But back to Freddie Peralta here, and this was a guy that I think a lot of Brewers fans throughout the season has kind of been up and down on. Entering the season was essentially crowned the ace by default. Corbin Burns gets traded. Brandon Woodruff's out. Okay, who's your dude? It's Freddie Peralta. And you already start off those high expectations for him. And when you look at some of his numbers, May, he was 0-3 with a 4.08 ERA. June, 3-1, but a 4.26 ERA. July, 0-2, 4.10 ERA. But a solid August, 3-1 with a 2.89 ERA. And so far in September, he is 2-1 with a 3.60 ERA. He's coming off of a no decision against Philly where he pitched 5. It was a solid game. He pitched 5, gave up 2 hits, that 1 home run, and struck out 9. And you look at, and he pitched against Arizona 2 back on the 13th. Got credited with that win. 5 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run. So in his last 2 games against 2 potential playoff teams, well, one of them we know is a playoff team with Philly, but in his last 2 games, he's given up a combined 2 earned runs, and he struck out 14. Did have 4 walks in that game against Arizona, though, too. But kind of like our good buddy Brandon said on Friday, too, that the big thing with Freddie is, like to see him maybe get to 6 innings, stretching out these games here a little bit, because you look at some of these games, 2 of the 4 games so far that he has played in September, he's gone over 100 pitches. 103 pitches in just 5 innings, 102 pitches in just 5 1/3 innings. You go back to August 28th, 105 pitches in 6 innings. So, I mean, he's kind of racked up, and I'm curious, does that factor into this game tonight here too? Do the Brewers maybe like, okay, we're not going to let him get to 100. We're not going to let him get to 90. We want to make sure he's fresh and ready to go for a potential start on Tuesday. Is he on that pitch count? Or do they let him go out there and treat it like a normal game here? But I'm definitely, looking at tonight, obviously outside of a win, I'm pretty curious to see how Freddie Peralta does on the stage, and does he have a solid outing? Maybe build a little confidence here because we know his next start's going to come when it's a postseason game. All right, let's take a quick break here. We'll switch gears up here a little bit too. Talk a little Pack and Vikings here, midweek adjustments. Who would have thought? Week 4, we're talking about how to slow down Sam Darnold. G-Man with a quick text, DK. Way to go, Brewers. The crew, keep it going, Brewers fans. Say that this is our year this year to win the World Series. Go Brewers. Oh boy, there, G-Man. What are you doing at that time? Oh my goodness. You better be okay to go drive there, G-Man. I'm just saying. You better be okay. Don't go out and about if you're still recovering there, sir. We've got Mike with also a text here this morning talking the Brewers. Definitely curious to see how Pat Murphy and the full squad go about with their starting rotation here. Interesting that they would maybe piggyback Tobias Myers and Colin Ray. Got to imagine it's because of Tobias Myers being a young rookie. All right. Maybe. Yeah, could be. If you hear a couple fans in the background or anything like that, I had to get it going. We're replacing some of our cooling in right now, and it is hot. You know the movie Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls, and he's in the rhino? It's hot in these rhinos. That's how I kind of feel right now, so I need a little fan going. Okay? So, let's talk some Packers and Vikings right now as we get set. Midweek adjustments, baby. Now we're on to Minnesota. We're not talking Tennessee anymore. We're not doing anything like that. We're on to Minnesota. Minnesota 3-0. Spent their last two wins, very impressive wins for the Vikings. Packers able to go 2-0 with their backup quarterback. A lot of thought that this could be the game that Jordan Love returns here. But we'll get to, on Friday when we get a little football Friday, some keys to victory, key matchups, and all that fun stuff there too. But since it's a little bit of a midweek adjustment here, there's one thing I did want to kind of note here, and it's Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold has been off to a fantastic start for a guy who was just going to be a bridge quarterback to J.J. McCarthy. And you got to give that guy credit for what he's doing this year. 8 touchdown passes, just 2 interceptions so far this year. He's got over 117 quarterback rating, 117.3. And he's 4th in the entire league in yards per attempt. Yes, he has Justin Jefferson, but remember, no Addison the last couple games, and no T.J. Hawkinson. Aaron Jones looks to be doing pretty darn good over there too. So Jeff Hafley, Packers defensive coordinator, this is where I'm curious to see what adjustments he does now for this game against Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings passing attack. Because you look at the first couple weeks for this Packers defense and the quarterbacks that they've had to prepare for. Jalen Hurts, Anthony Richardson, 2 mobile quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks that can beat you with their legs, right? Then he adjusted week 3, Will Levis. First couple weeks, just to backtrack there a little bit, kind of a contained rush, a disciplined rush, trying to keep them within the pocket so they wouldn't exploit that defense, wouldn't exploit that Packers defense and pick up some big gains or have big plays using their legs. He adjusted last week to Will Levis. Put on the noise, put on the pressure. 8 sacks against Will Levis. And Jeff Hafley has been a guy that has talked about putting pressure on the quarterback. So that's why I think there was maybe some people a little concerned, questioning why they weren't racking up the sacks in the first couple of weeks there. But now he's got Sam Darnold. And we know Sam Darnold is not a Jalen Hurts. He's not an Anthony Richardson that will use his legs to, outrun everybody. He's not a Will Levis to the point maybe that, he's been making a ton of mistakes and some boneheaded plays this year. So Jeff Hafley, I think, is going to have to adjust again to another quarterback. And what is he going to do? Couple numbers. It's not going to be as simple as bring the noise, bring the blitz. You want to know why? Because Sam Darnold has been killing the blitz. He's got a 158.3 passer rating against the blitz this year. That's a perfect quarterback rating, people. 10 of 12, 189 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He is a perfect 158.3 quarterback rating against the blitz. I don't know if Hafley and his staff look at those numbers, or they just, watch. They're watching the film and such. But I mean, you can't get any better than that. He's been killing the blitz. So for anybody saying, oh, just bring blitzers, rattle him a little bit, Sam Darnold has not been rattled yet. And these are defenses that he's gone up against with the 49ers and with the Houston Texans. So it'll be interesting to see what the Packers' defensive game plan is going to be, because I think you might want to adjust it a little bit more to what you had with Will Levis in the prior week. What is it? I think part of it is what Green Bay has to do is they got to get home with their front four. They somehow have got to get home and win their one-on-ones. Rashawn Gary has got to get home. Kenny Clark has got to bring the pressure up the middle. Those four, whoever's the front four of Rashawn, Preston, Kenny, Devontae, Van Ness, Enoch Barre, Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, those guys have got to get pressure with just four. It'll be tough because, Minnesota has gotten better with their offensive line the last couple of years. So it's not going to be just a picnic in the park there to get after Darnold. But I think that they're going to have to do that. They're going to have to win their one-on-ones. And I got to imagine there's probably going to be some more stunts trying to confuse Sam Darnold, maybe some pre-snap coverages, pre-snap looks that change as the play, is called, trying to confuse Sam Darnold. So to me, those are going to be the two things that I want to see from Jeff Hafley and this Packers defense is getting home with your rush with just your 4 down linemen, your 4 linemen, but also confusing Sam Darnold. Confusing Sam Darnold with some pre-snap looks. Confusing him with the coverages. I think, to me, that's what's going to have to try to rattle Sam Darnold. That's the way to try to rattle it. The other part in this, too, is that if Aaron Jones is going to run all haywire on his former team, because he's going to want to go out there and put together a good performance, and he's coming off of 100 yards rushing against the Texans, you know that he's going to want to go out there and put on a show. And in his last couple games here, he's caught 5 balls too. And is that a matchup that Kevin O'Connell, head coach for the Vikings, offensive play caller, is going to try to exploit? Is he going to try to, get Jones lined up with a linebacker? Because I got to imagine if Jones is lined up with a linebacker, I don't care if it's Quay Walker, if it's Isaiah McDuffie, if it's Eric Wilson, or whoever it is, Vikings are going to like that matchup. So how does Green Bay counter that? How do they adjust to that? Do they take off a linebacker or put in an extra DB? One of those safeties, right? Evan Williams, Javon Bullard, you got X back there. So I'm interested to see the chess match between, both sides here, because I think, I've mentioned it before, but you look at what Brian Flores, defensive coordinator for the Vikings, has done in his last 2 weeks going up against similar offenses that come from the same tree. Brian Flores and Matt Fleur is going to be an interesting chess match, but also the Jeff Hafley defense going up against Kevin O'Connell. That's going to be an intriguing chess match over there too. how does Jeff Hafley go out there and try to put pressure on Sam Darnold, but not so much to where he's going to burn you. But in the same time, how is Kevin O'Connell going to maybe put a guy like Aaron Jones to create those mismatches, especially in the passing game? We know Justin Jefferson's a threat, regardless if Jair Alexander's covering him or not. Does Green Bay double team him with, Xavier over the top and such? Maybe. But this game to me so far, as we're sitting here on Wednesday, halfway through the week here, getting set for our first practice today, this has the makings, in my opinion, is just a huge chess match. And it's going to be a battle of the minds. Obviously, it's one on the field and such, but I'm very curious to see how both of these game plans kind of work out for both sides. This is going to be a fun game. I wish and I hope it would be a dominating win for Green Bay. I don't see that happen. I'm not making my pick right now. I just saying I think it's going to be a very close battle at Lambeau Field on Sunday. But that's kind of my midweek adjustment here. How does Jeff Hafley adjust to another style of quarterback? First couple weeks. I mean, every week so far, the first 4 weeks, it's been a little bit different. Yes, Jalen Hurts and Anthony Richardson known for their legs, but Anthony Richardson, much bigger than Jalen Hurts, also has the threat of a big arm, big play. Then you got Will Levis, second-year guy. He's got a good arm too. He's got Calvin Ridley and such, but he's made some bonehead mistakes. What's the game plan for Hafley this week going up against Sam Darnold, who is a guy that won't beat you with your legs or is not a big scrambling quarterback, but has been wrecking teams who have come after him with 5 or more rushers. But again, you don't want him to just sit back there in the pocket either and pick apart your defense, especially when you've got a guy like Justin Jefferson on that squad. Something to definitely follow. All right, let's Morg should be popping in here in a couple minutes and such. So we'll get back to some more Packers and Vikings chat coming up in the next couple hours here. Back to some more baseball talk next hour or two. We've gotten more teams who have clinched up with their playoff spots. Houston has clinched the division. San Diego has clinched a playoff spot with their win over the Dodgers last night. Nice, sweet triple play there to end it. They're still in it to try to steal the division away from the Dodgers. But sure looks like Padres, bare minimum, would probably be the top wild card team right now. We'll see, though. A lot could change here in the next 5 games. Braves are just a half game out there, too. So, I mean, they're inching a little bit closer. These next 5 days are going to be crazy in terms of a lot of movement around baseball. Yes, we had a couple more teams clinch spots, but still, we just got the Brewers have clinched their division. Houston's clinched their division, and Phillies have clinched their division too. Baltimore's also got a spot in there too. So spots are starting to fill up here, but still a lot of movement to be had here. So yeah, Morgs, it's hot.
Last week, you had the one cool studio in the building, and now with the adventures in HVAC that continue around here, you got the hot studio. You don't like it. You're cranky, right?
I am.
Hot weather makes you
cranky. I want to know why one week it was cold and this week it's like nowhere. Like what's the reasoning behind this?
The HVAC crew that's been here camping out for the better part of 2 weeks probably has a better answer for you.
Yeah.
I think it's, a mix of random karma taking place. But I can't explain it. I don't think they can either, though, to be fair. There's a big project underway. But does it seem like there are more vehicles and hoses involved as time goes on and not fewer?
I will say my office is actually cooler now. So that's one positive.
Okay.
I don't have the fan. Me and my counterpart Phil over there don't have fans running constantly.
All right. So see, there is an upside. You always have to search for the silver lining.
I just got to bust down that wall and maybe that cool air can sneak in.
Do a little remodeling. Mm-hmm. You never really know what you're going to get, which is kind of exciting about walking in here now. But the nice thing is I really think this is the time of year that everybody can agree on. Because if you're a summer lover, it hasn't quite slipped away yet. If you like fall, you get those early tastes of it.
Mhm.
So this is where the Venn diagram for most people kind of crosses over because we're getting a beautiful week outside.
We are, we are. I wish it was a little cooler during the day, though,
It'll
but
get there
it'll
though.
get there,
It'll
so
get there. You just have hunting on the brain this time of
I
year.
do,
It's
and then
windows open
and
weather.
then
And then what?
Warrens.
Winter?
Warrens.
What?
Warrens. Saturday.
What?
Cranfest.
Oh, you're going.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying
Like
Hornets.
a couple years ago when you ditched it.
Warrens.
No.
You're gonna brave it again.
Mhm.
You're gonna be part of
It's
those.
the easiest Christmas shopping getting done. Checklist.
Is that where you knock
boom.
it all out?
Mhm.
Do you go to the same booths every year?
I'll go to the same areas.
Okay.
So.
So what time are you going? Early and often?
Saturday early morning.
That you tackle it right out of the gate?
Yep. Get it in, get it out, get done, and out of there.
Now, do you have any must-do food items while you're there, like
See,
the
that's
cranberry
like the last year.
tarts?
That's like the last year to get some fair food type of stuff.
Yeah, it
you
is.
know, so,
But is there like something that you always get at Warren's that you can't get anywhere else?
No, it's usually whatever has the shortest lines.
Ha! That's how you determine it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, speaking of food, we're going to take you away from the Midway and Fair Food. Today's lobster day. Are you a
Okay.
seafood guy?
Love seafood.
Okay. You can have mine because did you
I
ever get into like
love-
the Deadliest Catch?
No.
So I used to watch Deadliest Catch, and those like men of men, like
Mhm.
just the pure nausea that would happen if you were out on those choppy waters.
Yeah.
But then they
You
would
know me
pull
in
in
oceans, though. I can't do that.
these cages full of crab, and then they would be pretty much break their fingers and just keep like right on yanking.
Yeah.
Like these were some burly, hardcore kind of work. I'm like, this is not worth it. I don't enjoy crab that much for people to be putting this much effort into it.
Yeah.
So I am not a seafood person, but if you were going to build not a surf and turf, but a surf and surf plate, what would be on it if you're going all seafood?
So
Is lobster on there?
I don't mind lobster. I don't know if I'd put it. I love flounder.
Okay.
Shrimp's always a nice go-to.
I've never heard flounder be somebody's top pick before.
I'd say I didn't say it was top. I said I like flounder.
Yeah.
Um,
Because here in Wisconsin, fish fry, like walleye, you got
Right.
the basics, the, you know,
right.
cod.
I'm
that
taking
kind of
away
thing, but-
freshwater stuff.
Yeah, go
yeah.
only ocean water.
Only ocean.
Yeah,
so
seafood.
shrimp for sure. I like scallops if they're done right.
Okay.
I like a little spice on them. I am a big crab. I got to put crab on there too.
Okay. Is
so.
it easier for you to prepare seafood or get behind the grill and do like meat, beef, steak?
I
That
put
kind of thing?
seafood on the grill. Boom.
Are you better at it than regular meat?
No.
Admittedly.
Second hour kicks off right now. We're making a turn on this brand new work week here. Big thanks for tuning in. However, wherever you may be tuning in from, we'll get back to some football talk a little bit later on here this morning. We got business and sports also coming at you at about 8:05, so a little under an hour from now. The final week of the baseball season officially underway. A couple more teams clinching some spots. Padres have at least clinched a playoff spot. Baltimore's at least clinched a playoff spot. Houston has clinched their division. One team, though, that has fallen further and further behind is Lucas's Twins. Okay. First of all, good morning. Twins don't make the playoffs. Rocco out.
Every single person in that organization out.
Realistically. How disappointing is this Twins? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. They were looking pretty darn good. We're talking about, up there in wins, with some of the best in the league, and now they're out if the playoffs started today.
Yep, losing to a team that's like a double-A team last night and not even trying.
Mm-hmm.
Operation Give Up. I don't know why. Well, I know there's, the saying plenty of blame to go around is absolutely true. The Pohlads, thankfully, are. I know I've said many times before, Rocco Baldelli gets a lot of flack, and a lot of it deservedly so. Thankfully, I see the general consensus now seems to be the Pohlads are responsible for this, and that's the truth. They bailed on last season. They decided they wanted to save money. They're probably going to consider the season a success because they're probably going to come out in the black. They're like, yay, 2024 Twins. We made money. They may end up firing Baldelli anyway. I guess I'd be okay with that. I know there are a lot of people that say, no, he's really a good manager. Be careful what you wish for. Well, he's made a fair number of not good moves as manager. Not to the point where I'd say he's a bad manager. I think he's a good one. But you probably need a great one, and I don't think he's a great one. Mm-hmm. Part of me wants to refresh the whole team, the whole organization. And I know realistically you're not going to be able to do that, but your top 3 stars all have injury-prone affixed to their name, and we saw it again this year. So it'll happen again next year, and it'll happen again the year after that until one of their careers is done. And then it'll be 2 of them that'll be injury prone until they're done. It's rinse and repeat. So of course, I'm saying all this in a week from today, we could be talking about the Twins' first round matchup if they suddenly win and then the Tigers go on a losing streak. Like, that's still possible here. So I don't want to entirely file the obituary, but there's also the realism of is this franchise in a position to realistically win the World Series? Again, there's a lot. It's one of the classic, if everything goes right, absolutely they can win it. Mm-hmm. But they have enough aspects of the team that get in the way that they need a complete restart. And again, it goes back to the ownership that they're quite honestly too cheap. They've always been too cheap. Yeah, I know they had a big payroll last year, but you got to keep going with that. You can't be like, we're cutting $30 million this year. What? Are you more interested in making money or winning baseball games? Apparently, it's making money, and that'll probably continue. So a lot of fans not at the game last night. Good.
Good.
Yeah, send a message.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that message going to be received even though?
Probably not. No, because again, bottom line matters most, and there's the Pohlads are not in any position to be forced to sell the team. I mean, they haven't done anything unethical. They haven't done anything immoral. It's a matter of how you run a baseball team, and they have their approach to it, which, I mean, at least they have made the playoffs a fair amount. There are some owners that really are penny pinchers, and like the Pirates owner, they'd never make the playoffs. But you wouldn't kick those folks out. We're not talking like Donald Sterling, Dan Snyder level stuff. So it's never going to change. They're not going to be like, gosh, people don't like us. But I guess the fans have to do with what they can, and maybe they can try to convince one of those siblings to go, all right, we need to change the approach. I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, usually this is a fun time of year for baseball fans, and Twins fans just hate life right now.
Yeah.
Baseball sucks.
Baseball sucks,
It
man.
sucks right now. And like I said, a week from now, we could be talking about the playoffs. So, like, again, we don't know how this.
So,
all,
I mean, is it just to the point where you're just happy to get in? Or would you just like, screw it and let's get this done and start the rebuild?
Kind of in the latter. And I say that knowing full well the vagaries of the playoffs, that, of course, this would be the team that would go on the run. The team that has no chance of doing anything. Then, yeah, it becomes one of those teams that goes on the run to the World Series. Maybe not winning it, but going that far. Like we were saying about the Cubs a few weeks ago. This would be that team right now. But are they even going to get there when that Marlins team last night could beat them? Wow. That was horrible.
Yeah.
So I'd almost rather they rebuild, but then how do you? Like, are you going to trade off Correa, Buxton, and Lewis and try to get prospects back for them? Or there are a lot of questions and I don't know what the answers are.
Mm-hmm. Interesting time. At least your football team's halfway decent.
This is weird. See, I was like, and this is how sports flips, and we none of us can predict how a lot of these things are going to go. You asked me 1 month ago, my interest for the Vikings season was on a scale of 1 to 10, about a 2. I was just like, nothing's really going to happen this year. Darnold's the quarterback. Yeah, he'll probably have his best season, but all the karma from the offseason, all the things that were happening from the offseason, that was looking like a so-so team at best. And it was Twins, Timberwolves, Lynx, obviously. There was a lot to like with all those. And the Vikings and Twins have completely flipped their roles. And I say completely. It's the exact opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Twins are completely apathetic, and the Vikings are the team that's like, wow, they've got a future here. Like a short-term future.
Short-term?
I mean, in terms of like assessing what's coming up in like the next year.
Gotcha.
Or so.
Okay.
Yeah, because I figured the Vikings would get, like, I figured they'd be to this point maybe next year. We did not expect them to be playing this well right now at all. Mm-hmm. That too is a complete surprise. I suppose I could say I could have seen the Twins collapse coming, their lack of spending on pitchers, all the injuries, and it's caught up to them. Vikings, it's like best case scenario right now. Like, whoa, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's sports for you.
It is. So, remind me to get your pick before the show is over with.
I got to think about that too. I can see this going in a myriad of directions.
Mm-hmm. Back to baseball here, though, very quick, because this is even though we've got a couple more teams that have clinched up spots, this week still has a lot of, shall we say, potential movement to go around here. So the Yankees are still leading their division, but they're going at it with Baltimore right now. Baltimore picked up the win last night. They clinched a playoff spot. They're still not mathematically out of it, but in terms of an AL East championship, but it's going to be tight there. Cleveland, we know, has gotten their AL Central title. Houston racked up another division title last night. The Tigers continuing to roll. They're in that second spot right now in the wild card. Kansas City actually won a game too, so that's what makes them up by 2 over the Twins. Twins also lost last night, too. Mariners 2.5 back. Boston's trying to make a late push. They're 3.5 back here. We know the Dodgers have clinched a playoff spot, not the division yet, because the Padres beat them last night in a big-time series there. Nice triple play to end it. That's not a bad way to end the game there. Philadelphia. I know I mentioned this yesterday. It's still weird to say this is the first division championship for Philadelphia since 2011.
Wow.
Think about that. For all the success that Philly has had, this is their first division championship since 2011. That was the series, or that was the year it was Prince Fielder, Ryan Braun, Brewers, Cardinals, NLCS. Because I was pumped after that game 5. We were tailgating again in at that time Miller Park lot, saying, "Hey, Cardinals beat the Phillies, home field advantage." Yep, no, that didn't work out. So, but yeah, 2011. Think about that.
13 years.
Mm-hmm.
I know the Phillies had some wan years throughout the 2010s. It took a while before they started to get good again, but they've been so good so often over the last like 2-3 years that this feels like they should have won another title before now.
Yeah. So Padres.
Yeah, it's like the yeah, I was just gonna say, what's the analogy? It sounds very familiar. It's like the Ravens. It feels like, remember when they made the conference championship last year? It's like they've been in it more recently, right? And it hadn't been since the 2012 season.
That's true. That is a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah.
San Diego, we know, has clinched the playoff spots as of last night, but they're still potentially competing for that division. Man, they're hot right now. 9-1 in their last 10, and they've won 5 in a row. Mets currently in that second spot. Diamondbacks holding on to the final spot.
They're
But-
slipping all of a sudden.
Yeah, but the Braves just a half game back now after defeating the Mets too. So even though we just got 5 games left to go, still some uncertainty surrounding the rest of this week here. What are, besides taking away the Twins and all that, what's kind of got your eye, or what are you intrigued about as we're into the final week here, the last few games? What race, what team trying to get into it is intriguing you the most right now?
Actually, what probably intrigues me most about all of this is soon to be Hurricane Helene, which is heading
Of course,
right towards
weather guy.
Of course it is.
You know,
But you know where it's going? And on the cone of uncertainty, right down the middle is Atlanta around Friday. And the Braves have all home games remaining. That could, and given who they're playing, they play the Royals this weekend as well. Of course, sports is way more superficial to a potentially really nasty hurricane, but it's not even one right now, but it will be. What is that going to do to this race? Again, on the Royals and the Braves, both borderline playoff teams right now, and they may end up having, like the Braves may end up having to play like doubleheaders all weekend long. What's that going to do? Ponder that for a moment. Like they're, gosh, throw that, well, from an entertainment point of view, purely entertainment. Well, of course, I'm looking forward to that. Like, what is this all going to mean? Otherwise, the Diamondbacks, I don't want to say collapse, because it's really, I mean, they've lost 3 in a row. That's not a collapse yet. That's a losing streak. That's not a collapse. They seemed like one of those, don't want to play them. Them and the Padres were getting very much in that territory for the last really 2 months. If they're not careful, they're not going to be in the postseason right at the very end. I want to see if the Braves can play their way back into this. So honestly, take the weather out of it, and I think the Braves Diamondbacks hinge there, and the Mets aren't in safe territory yet. How does that shake out? I would be more intrigued about the prospect of the Brewers getting to a first round bye if they could have gotten another win here or there earlier in the season. This is why every game counts. You get that extra win here or there, and maybe they could. I don't think it's going to happen, but we've always figured they were going to be the 3 seeds, so that's not really a ooh. So really, it's that the bottom of the National League wild card. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And can Atlanta, after seemingly having fallen out, are they going to get their way back into the postseason?
Well, it makes it, because Austin Riley's done now too. So I mean, they've been banged up with injuries left and right here. So,
they might be like the Twins, like one of those teams where if they get in, like, what's the point? Or after I've said everything about the playoffs, also sometimes certain teams get in, you're like, yeah, you don't have a shot. Like the Reds a few years ago when they went in and they didn't score a run.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the Braves, could be the Twins. That could be one of those where in a best of 3, and it's like, why are you even here? And they don't do anything.
Yeah. I don't know, but it should be pretty interesting. If you're just a general baseball fan that doesn't have a favorite team, or your favorite team's out of it, you got to be liking this week. Major League Baseball has got to be liking this week right now.
Oh yeah, lot of fun going on here, and we will hear this when we get closer to the World Series. But kind of teeing it up in terms of what is Major League Baseball like? Yankees and the Dodgers all have potential.
Well, and I mean, okay, I know
Ohtani versus Judge in the World Series.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, I would get it. I get it. You know, okay, we get that all the time. I understand that. But here's the thing. Ohtani versus Aaron Judge. Okay, I'll just keep saying it. Ohtani versus Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm.
How often do we get that when it gets to like a World Series type of thing?
Oh, and I want to see that too. Yeah, I even if it's New York, LA. Well, we haven't actually had a Yankees-Dodgers World Series since 1981.
It feels like we've had, because we keep talking about that potential. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It just feels like we've had that before.
And it hasn't happened yet. So, of course, naturally, we're going to get the Tigers versus the the Diamondbacks in the World Series. But I would love that, both from a fan point of view, from a baseball point of view. There's a lot to like with that. I kind of hope that that's what happens. The way the season has gone, it feels like the summation, having a Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge homer off in the World Series would be splendid.
You know what would be even better, though? I know there was some talk about it happening. I would be shocked if it did. If somehow in Game 7, bases loaded, Dodgers are up 1, 2 outs, Ohtani comes to the mound, and Aaron Judge is at the plate. I mean, isn't that the pinnacle right there?
Well, you heard the Dodgers are saying, Ohtani could pitch soon. They didn't rule it out.
I know, but isn't that as like, if
That
you're a
would be-
baseball fan, isn't that like, oh, give me that and more?
Well, I mean, that would be a variation of what we saw in the World Baseball Classic. Remember Ohtani versus Trout?
Yep.
I still remember that at bat. That was to end the game. Like, that was everything you wanted to see. In the World Series, that would be given who's currently performing well, that's what you want to see. That would be awesome if that happened. Yeah, this is probably one of the only years where, and of course, if Judge and Ohtani hold up the next few years, it'll stay that way, where I want the two big market teams, because, yeah, I get it. That's going to be the fun thing to watch.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, if the Brewers aren't in it, I probably wouldn't complain too much if that was the matchup.
Yeah.
So,
just as a baseball fan, so you watching Judge versus Ohtani in the World? Remember how it could move around a little bit this year. If the LCS gets done early, then they'll start the World Series early. That, or are you watching Game 5 of Ohtani Judge, or Sunday Night Football Cowboys 49ers?
49ers going to have anybody to play that game?
That's a good point. They might yet have to flex that one out.
Think about, could you imagine they flex they ain't flexing the Cowboys.
No, under zero circumstances.
Not even close to happening.
No.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll have more, though, coming up. Hit us up. What's on your mind? That texting line's wide open, 715-830-1912. We'll be right back. I think this is the first time we've finally heard from good buddy Plain T during the Packer season here. Good morning, Plain T. Plain T saying good morning, DK. I think the Packers' ability to rotate the front four and their linebackers will start paying off in the second half as far as getting home with 4 or 5 pass rushers, especially if we're playing with any type of lead. Remember, Sam might even be less mobile after banging up his knee last week, predicting 5+ sacks. Hashtag Go Pack. Do you guys got a quarterback controversy, by the way, there, Lucas? What if Sam Darnold finishes with like 38 touchdown passes and 8 interceptions?
You know, that thought actually floated across my brain over the past couple days. Seriously, I was like, wait a minute. JJ McCarthy's the future quarterback of the
Maybe
Minnesota
not
Vikings.
rushing him back that much.
Well, hey, there's a pretty good model about 5 hours east of the Twin Cities of not rushing young quarterbacks and having success with that approach.
Obviously, you're referring to Malik Willis, so yes.
Clearly. As we've seen with quarterback play of late, younger quarterbacks that are like, whoa, that's what happened. And the quarterbacks that seem to hang around longer, get trained longer, seem to perform better of late. Say that JJ McCarthy is going to sit behind Sam Darnold for 3 years and then suddenly turn into a Mount Rushmore all-time NFL quarterback. But the big winner in all of this is Kevin O'Connell. Dude is going to get a big contract extension after 2025. And remember, the Wilfs are like, well, we'll evaluate after not this season, but next season for him and Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, which made sense. There was still a fair amount of uncertainty. At the rate this season is going, the track record that O'Connell's putting together of coaching up some really so-so quarterbacks. I mean, it took until it was the depths of quarterbacks towards the end of last year before it kind of ran out of magic. But he sure is enhancing the notion of he's a good guy to have to get a quarterback to optimize his ability. And seeing this with Sam Darnold in 3 games, again, that's the qualifier on this. It's 3 out of 17 games. There's a lot more to go. He will get a big contract extension. The Wilfs are definitely not the Pohlads. They're going to spend money, and they will keep Kevin O'Connell. If they ultimately decide it's worth keeping Kevin O'Connell, they definitely will. Also, I should say Adolfo-Mensah's stock is going up, finally. The free agent moves have been pretty good. But that's another topic. Back to quarterback. How would you assess, because we'll do the opposite here. I usually comment on the Packers because I'm not a Packers fan. You're not a Vikings fan. How would you assess Sam Darnold's performance this year?
All the number that I threw out in the first hour, a perfect quarterback rating against the blitz this year.
Wow.
A perfect quarterback, 158.3 quarterback rating. He's by far exceeded my expectations. I mean, you can make the case of like, well, you look at what he did with the Jets. Did he, Carolina and such. That's why I think what we're seeing with a lot of these quarterbacks, I'll throw Malik Willis into this too. It's a small sample size. Quarterbacks going into systems that fit them, competent coaches willing to, mold their quarterbacks and do what they do well. Why do some teams still struggle with this? You want to know why? Probably owners. Owners getting their messy hands mixed up into this thing. But I mean, come on, how many Baker Mayfield's another example, right? I mean, these resurgent quarterbacks get Geno Smith, for crying out loud. Geno Smith is still, I was just thinking about this the other day. Geno Smith is still in the league, and now he's having success in the last couple of years. Just putting guys in a position to succeed. Why do some of these other teams, Carolina, continue to mess this up? It's because I think it's boiled down to owners trying to get their messy hands into stuff when they should just stay out of it. Let football people do football stuff, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But no, back to Darnold. Sorry, that was my rant here.
That's okay.
But I mean, come on. I think it's cool to see some resurgent quarterbacks here. Guys actually getting another shot and succeeding with that. Because too often we see these younger quarterbacks that get put into crappy situations, or they get hurt and they don't get another shot and they're down the pecking order, Trey Lance. And we'll never know if they've lived up to that draft potential. But anyways, I think Sam Darnold, it was interesting because go back to last year when he was with San Francisco. What was the talk? Do you remember what the talk was at the beginning? Well, Sam Darnold could actually be the starter for San Francisco.
A little bit, yeah.
There was that, and I know there was some thought, would Brock Purdy actually miss the start of the season? But I mean, there was like a lot of good talk coming out of San Francisco about Sam Darnold. So I think it was just a natural fit to go over to O'Connell and the Vikings because it was a similar style of offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that was smart on both parts to do that. And I think there was like, okay, this could potentially work. But I don't think it's to the level that people have seen so far from him. And the fact that he's doing it without TJ Hawkinson, without Addison. Yes, he has Justin Jefferson there, but he's missing a couple big weapons over there too. So hey, got to tip your cap to him.
Yeah,
he's doing well.
Props to Jalen Naylor for. I mean, he was serviceable. Was maybe a bit of an understatement last year. He's been good this year. Not Jefferson good, but he's filled in for Addison quite well. But got to get the ball to these guys too. Mm-hmm. And he's finding ways to do that. A lot of it was within scheme. Some of it this past weekend was out of scheme. That was the big question. I know that was on the preview into the Texans game, the Mina Kimes spot. That was the big question. How is he going to do when scheme breaks down? That's Darnold's difficulty. Well, I don't know that the scheme broke down too much against Houston, but there was some of that, and he acquitted himself quite well.
This is what's been impressive to me about Minnesota, and to a couple people saying right now in a text thing, they'll crash and burn, slow it down, blah, blah, blah. Stop. Give credit to where credit's due. Minnesota is playing well. It pains me to say that, okay? It absolutely pains me to say that. In the last 2 weeks, I only talked to one guy during Packer games, and it's my buddy Jake. But the last 2 weeks, I've been literally, I'll go through my text and say, why is Minnesota winning? Why is Minnesota winning right now? Like, it's bugging me. But I got to tip my cap to him because you look at this schedule, and I'm sure you looked at it, Luke, when it came out. It's like, oh, my God, 49ers, Texans, Packers, Jets.
Rough start.
You just won. You're 3-0, and you beat the 49ers and the Texans.
And admittedly, yeah, the 49ers and Texans right now don't look as good as we were expecting. But
you play who's on your schedule at that point in time. Right. I don't care.
Right.
You don't apologize for wins. You don't apologize for wins. You don't make excuses for wins. A win is a win.
And how do you perform in those wins, too?
Mm-hmm.
Their DVOA is top 10 right now for the season thus far. I think they're higher than the Packers at this point, of just the DVOA, not the overall assessment. The Packers are a little bit ahead of them when you count the preseason assessment, throw that in what the preseason projections. They are performing very well on the field. They're having dominant performances so far. I emphasize so far because, like you could have said about the Saints too, like 2 games, wow, and then they don't score.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
you got to give that credit to the defense too. 5 sacks in each of their first 3 games right now.
That is a scary defense.
I mean, come on. There's plenty to look at this Minnesota team right now and be like, yeah, they're playing good, and they're pretty darn. Who was it? Can't remember who said it, but right now, and it's only 3 weeks, and I understand it, but somebody said they're the most complete team right now.
I think you could say that. That's fair enough assessment, and special teams hasn't bit them so far. We haven't heard the traditional complaints about the Vikings kicker. Again, only 3 games in, but so far it's been okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that. So is rushing Darnold going to be the key to messing him up? The potential attacking nature of the Packers outside of their ball hawkishness this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one thing I'm most concerned about. Like, oh man, they're going to be at least 2 picks. And that could be in a Vikings win, but they're going to be 2 interceptions on Sunday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one of Darnold's things. He sometimes gets the ball a little bit out of aim. And so far the Packers have done a great job of finding where the football is going.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say is the biggest thing to messing him up and making him more like the Sam Darnold we used to know and love?
I mean, I think you got to get home with your front four. I mean, I'll go back to the blitz thing. He's been wrecking blitzes with 5 or more rushers. So I think if you can get home with your 4, but also try to have some pre-snap looks that are confusing, your pre-snap look and then you change it right when the ball is snapped. We've seen defenses do that to try to confuse quarterbacks. I think you got to try to confuse them here.
The sim pressures?
Yeah. And this is unique to me with Jeff Hafley. This is a different style quarterback now that he has to adjust to prepare for. The first couple weeks, it was mobile quarterback. It was disciplined pressures. It was kind of contained pressures. And I know people were freaking out because the sack numbers weren't up there. But you had Jalen Hurts and you had Anthony Richardson, 2 guys who aren't afraid to run the ball and will beat you with their legs. Anthony Richardson's a more physical runner. But they contained him. They didn't run all over the field. Last week, it was like, oh, I wonder if this is the week that's going to go after Will Levis. You look at the numbers, and he sucks against the blitz. 8 sacks. So that's what this is another one. I'm curious to see the adjustments that Hafley, who is a defensive backs coach by trade, does he employ a little bit more confusing looks, especially when it comes to the secondary?
Yeah, that I referring to the ghosts comment is way too reductive because that's one game out there, but make Darnold more unsure because that was one of his knocks earlier in his career in a broad sense. Does he not see where the guy's going open? And I think the Packers can make that happen more frequently. I'm kind of starting to come up with somewhat of a pick here, but I think Darnold's going to have a regression, not necessarily a season previewing regression, but I actually think the Packer defense is going to have some more success against him. We're also underrating how the Vikings offensive line has been solid.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The eternal bugaboo of that team. It isn't a bugaboo anymore. They're good. I mean, they've done their job. I don't know if it'll happen this time, but that's a factor. What we're used to with the Vikings of all just push over the Viking offensive line. That's not the case anymore.
Really like a Wednesday version of receiver defer. Does the NFC North have 3 of the top 7 head coaches in the league right now? Obviously, I'm referring to Matt Eberflus as part of that 3. I'm holding a sign that says sarcasm for some people who don't understand sarcasm. So
yeah. I'm going to say receive and then do some quick.
Throw Andy Reid's in there. Probably number 1, right?
Yes. Andy Reid's in there. We counting Kyle Shanahan?
That's up to you. It's your list.
I know. Well, would you count Kyle Shanahan?
I'd probably throw Kyle Shanahan in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Mike Tomlin just keeps impressing me. So, I mean, I still think he gets overlooked.
Right. Nick Sirianni?
No.
I know. That's the thing. You're talking about teams that potentially could be conference champions, and then their coach, you're like, that happens. Sean
Harbaugh?
McVay, we're going to put in there. Yes. Yeah, I'm at the risk, before going through all the potential coaches, yes, they have 3 of the best 7 because there are enough where you hesitate. There's not a complete picture on them.
Mm-hmm.
But there are enough aspects, like Matt LaFleur has looked a lot better based on these 3 games so far. Man, has he acquitted himself well.
Sure seems like it's LaFleur and O'Connell who are like the leaders in talk of coach of the year the first 3 games of this season. And it pains me to say again that you guys might have a pretty darn good head coach right now.
But yeah, I right.
Stinks. Bears? Nah.
Well, we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Darnold right now also is, and again, very early, is right now the runaway comeback player of the year.
Over one Aaron Charles Rodgers, though?
But Rodgers was injured. Like, he didn't have a chance to even play. Darnold just sucked.
But that's comeback, though, too. A lot of it is his injuries.
But it really should be Darnold, though. I mean, coming back from what? Whereas, I mean, Rodgers it was a pause. So I suppose
it's between Rodgers and Darnold right now.
It is probably, but then again, they give that award usually to someone who's not like the highest profile player either. But not that this eliminates Rodgers, because it shouldn't. Wouldn't it feel weird for like one of the biggest stars in the NFL to get comeback player of the year?
Well, Burrow did in 2021.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. But that was still pretty young in his career. Rodgers is so established. I mean, he's a top 10 all-time player and was playing fairly well.
But if Rodgers throws like 45 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions and leads his team to a 1 seed in the AFC,
then he might be the MVP.
That too. Yeah.
So, can you be comeback player of the year and MVP?
Good.
Yeah, I mean, yes, you can, obviously.
It is, but if you do look at recent history of how the award has gone, Flacco won it for crying out loud last year. And then before that was Geno Smith. So if you look at recent trends, you would think it would be Sam Darnold.
Kind of does fit that, like the thought to be washed up quarterback that suddenly is successful.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's comeback is quote unquote the surprise player of the year.
Tom Brady did win it 1 year.
Yeah.
09.
Okay. And he was well established as a star. So
Peyton Manning won it in 2012.
Well, see, now that would be the Aaron Rodgers track.
That would be.
T.
Yep. Exactly.
So maybe it will be. Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens in the next 14 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if the Vikings tank it and don't make it, then I think we know what.
I think we answer that question pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exactly. So, but your Vikings have the Jets next week too. So,
battle of comeback players of the year potentially
in Minnesota too. You guys had a lot of home games open up the year, for crying out loud.
They do have a fair amount. I got to recheck the schedule and how that's going back and forth and everything. But yeah, it's I mean, well, they're taking advantage of it so far. I mean, you have home field advantage. Good. Use it.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're doing a great job with it.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll finish up the second hour. Maybe. I got to go cool off because it is smoking hot in here too.
It's not bad over here.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's my studio, I guess, today.
Just give it a week; it'll be all different.
So, but yeah, I got 2 fans going on, so I apologize if anybody can hear that. But again, I'm like Ace Ventura when nature calls. The rhino is hot in here.
Oh no.
Coming up just past 8 o'clock, we'll do another segment of the business of sports. We're also approaching that month of October where, remember, was it a few months ago we did the poll and like everybody said October is the best sports month?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're starting to get talk about, NBA training camp and all that. So
Mm-hmm.
NHL is going to be starting. Obviously, football is going on.
WNBA is a
playoffs,
bigger deal now.
WNBA playoffs too.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, lots going on here coming up here in October.
Yeah.
I do want to mention this too, and regardless of what you think about political stuff or whatever, you don't want to see this. But Brett Favre did announce yesterday that he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease when he was making a statement at Congress and such. So did want to note that out there in case anybody didn't hear that news yesterday. Again, regardless of, political stuff or whatever, you don't want to see that for anybody.
Sucks.
Right.
Straight up sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It makes that last image I have of Brett Favre as a player, hitting the ice cold turf of then TCF Bank Stadium worse.
Yeah.
And I know he had other concussions. It's not like you can draw a straight line. You never can do that, but it's worse now.
Mm-hmm.
How old is he again?
54.
Older than I thought. I don't know why. I figured he was.
Honestly, I thought the same thing too.
It's like I figured he was in his 40s, and because I knew he was graying early, that threw off my. I couldn't get a read on his age. I know I can Wikipedia it. I get it, but
I also think that puts in perspective how old I'm getting now too. So
right. Yeah,
that it's like 54, then I'm like, oh crap, my age too. So
right,
because I've already, according to my son, I've got too much gray hair already. So and I'm like, well, you are the reason, sir. So there you go.
At least you have hair.
That's true. Hey, my wife just said that too.
Yeah, see that silver lining.
I've got a full lock, although I wear a lot of hats. So
hey, now, nice mane up there.
There we go. That was the word I was trying to.
Mane.
Hair.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing with Favre is maybe what is going to make this, and like you said, let's separate out everything, like the scandal, all the. I know there's been a lot since he retired, obviously. So focusing on what we remember, most of us growing up in Wisconsin, whether we were Packers fans, though most of us listening are, I'm not, but we knew we were all following Brett Favre.
Yep.
What's going to throw us is all of the hijinks, the fun, the guy's guy, basically. That's essentially who he was. The jokester, all of that. And now his body is going downhill already. And again, it's not necessarily like death sentence in 3 years. He may still be with us in his 70s or 80s. That's a possibility. But there's a pretty decent chance CTE is involved with this. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And that could mean that this has a more sour ending than a lot of circumstances. Like
the over the years now too, but does the Iron Man, the guy that never misses a game, plays hurt. It was a badge of honor, right? It was like, that's you want to be that guy. You want to play hurt. You want to play through injuries and all that. Has that narrative changed from a fan's perspective now? I don't think it's changed so much from a fan's perspective. I think it's changed maybe, from a player's. I mean, I think they still want to be like the guy that plays every game, like, play through that. But when you're talking like head injuries and concussions now and all that sort of stuff, that has to change, right?
We're more cognizant of it, and we understand it more. Like, well, you can't do. Oh, you got your bell rung out there. All right, just just shake it off and get that. We're long ways past it, and we're better off for that. I mean, come on, let's be real. We're better off because of that. I saw my first Guardian cap in a regular season game. I know they've been out there, but in the Titans-Packers game, I saw my first one. I'm like, okay, good. I know the helmets are moving in directions where you probably won't even need to have them, but okay, we should have that out there. And you know what? It didn't wreck the game. It wasn't swag or anything. Fine, good. That guy's in better shape probably because he's got one of those Guardian caps on. I'd rather have fun football to watch. I'm not playing the sport ever. I'm just a fan. That's it. This is all entertainment. I don't want people potentially ruining their lives for my entertainment. That's sadistic. And honestly, if you think about it,
I'm not gonna try. I don't want to tell this person to stop, continue, whatever. And I don't want to, pretend I'm a doctor or anything. But with this news of Brett, the first name I thought of was Tua.
Yeah.
And I know he's don't listen to talking heads about what you should do. Tua's got to listen to the experts, right? And that's what, even with the Jordan Love injury, I know it's not comparison, but there were still people saying, well, so-and-so had the same injury and they still played. You don't know if it was the exact same injury.
Different bodies too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to our own expert, Dr. Crow, about this how many times? Just because you read a headline and it's the same headline as somebody else's injury doesn't necessarily mean it's the same exact type of injury.
Right. His body might be built in a certain way that he's going to be more prone to that sort of stuff happening.
And I think, and I'm guilty of this too, and there is a market for it too. But I think sometimes we get so caught up on when an injury happens, we go to Twitter /the X for all the video experts out there. And you know what I mean? I do this all the time.
Oh, of course.
Because I want to know what an expert thinks and that. So, but the Jordan Love one was the perfect example of how it was wrong right away. Oh, he's done. ACL, done. And it's no, it wasn't, sort of thing. So
we have give it a little bit of time for actual experts to examine the human being and check that out a little bit. So yeah, I had that. I don't know what your reaction was when you first saw the news, but when I saw the notification on my phone, I was like, oh, no.
Yeah. I have not seen, I know he's got, is it a documentary out? And I have not seen it. So, I'm going to have to read this during the break. Aaron Jones just wrote a message on the Players Tribune, a message for Green Bay. It just posted right now.
Oh, really?
I'm going to have to read that.
I'll bet it's a positive one.
I think it is.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want to be like, you guys suck, right, before you go to Lambeau.
This is no, maybe we'll save this for the next hour. I will say this is probably the one besides Favre that stings seeing wearing purple for me, or a rival's color. Because I mean, Aaron Jones to me epitomizes everything about quote unquote carries a G. So
yeah, I think we need to explore this more next hour because I know this is a complicated situation. I get that.
Right. Yeah.
It's not as easy as, this guy is washed up. Yeah, fine. Go to
it wasn't Greg Jennings.
No, this isn't the Vikings taking the leftovers. Not here, really.
So, all right, this is actually a little bit of a long read, so I'll try to
speed read
this.
it.
Yeah, speed read it. All right. 2 and 1 more to go. We'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, final hour kicking off right now.
So you liked the read.
I did.
So
you already saw it
your
over there.
tweet.
Yeah.
I gave it a read during Morgan's news as well. The
Mhm.
Aaron Jones Players Tribute one. Give it a read.
It is.
Anyone listening, give it a read. It's free. You don't have to log in.
Nope.
It's free.
Nope. But it's very good. And as you said, it's positive. It's very positive. And I think if there was, here's the thing too, like I've got to remind myself because I know it started as soon as, the Vikings won against the Texans and, you got interviews right off the field. And there was a quote from Jones saying, this is one of the most fun times I've had or something like, paraphrasing, one of the best years of my career, one of the most fun years of my career that I've ever had. And I've been on some good teams and people took offense to it. Packers fans did. We got to remember he could still have fun. And I mean, he's 3-0 for crying out loud and he just beat the Texans and 49ers. So yes, emotions are riding high.
Not a good time to ask and have a life assessment.
Right. And let's be real too. We're human. So when that day went down, when they signed Jacobs and then they ended up releasing Jones, we're human. He's going to be upset about it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. We're going to be upset about it. And if you put yourself in that position, try to take your fanism out of it, wouldn't you maybe kind of like to, you know what? If I get a chance to play against these guys for 2 more times just to kind of prove that they made a mistake, you'd probably take it. Yep.
And he's not a lifelong Packers fan, grew up in Wisconsin.
Right.
No.
It's easy for us to say, I'd never go there. We're diehards.
Question: if you were an NFL player,
no, I'm just kidding.
But I'm not going to say if you were playing for the Packers because that is cutting it a little close to home. But okay, maybe I'll use a different example instead of Packers and Vikings. Let's use a different rivalry. Let's take Ravens Steelers.
That's a good one.
Okay, so
or Steelers Bengals.
Yeah, that also would work too. So if you, being a Wisconsinite, being a Packers fan, but you are a legitimate player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they bring in someone comparable to your position, you get cut, and you go sign with either of those two teams, the Ravens or the Bengals. Would you do that knowing I should say, you ponder doing that because they want you, and you can perform well. Would you do that knowing you're going to the arch rival, mm-hmm. or do you go, that's breaking like a code or something?
Not everybody is Donald Driver.
You'd go.
And yeah, I mean, and I think it's a little bit different though too. Donald Driver, I don't think was, when he retired, I think it's clearly evident. We saw last year, Aaron Jones still had a lot to give and he still was playing at a high level. And, that last season with Driver in Green Bay, I mean, there were games where he was deactivated for crying out loud, there was games that he was only playing special teams.
Yeah.
So, that's a little bit different. And I know he said, because I was there at his retirement presser, he said, he got offers from other teams, but, he wanted to just retire in the green. Not everybody's Donald Driver. Okay. Not everybody's like that. Not everybody's going to be that. But in a comparable situation to Aaron Jones, yeah, I'd go.
And this is your life's goal. Like, you want to play NFL football and you have the talent, you have the ability to do it. If you got more that you can give and the one team that really believes in you and is like, you're going to start for us, happens to be the arch rival. I get that. You probably understand how it could be tough. And there might be some players that didn't grow up a fan, but may be part of the rivalry now and wouldn't go to that rival. There are a few who would, but Aaron Jones wasn't to that point and he went over to the other team. And I
think while it's still, I don't know if admirable is the right word I want to use, that thought of that player playing their whole career with one franchise, while it's still something I think we view as, oh, that's so cool or something like that. That's not a thing really anymore.
Hasn't been for a long time.
No,
really.
I mean, and we've got examples of it in different leagues, right? I mean, for crying out loud, when LeBron plays for 3-4 different teams. Tom Brady, of all people, went on his own from the Patriots to the Buccaneers, for crying out loud.
With the potential to play for a myriad of other teams.
Right. Baseball, we see it too, for certain players. Like Aaron Judge might be the last one that plays for, but for Ohtani, he moved and all that. So it's not really a thing anymore.
Do we know Jackson Chourio will be a lifelong Brewer? We got a long, long ways to go in his career.
Right. I hope so if he continues to play this well, but who knows?
But by the time that's done, like, oh my God, okay, here's where the length of that. When his career is done, my daughter will probably be in college. She's 3.5 right now. That is a very long, long time. I know everyone's that goes fast. It's a long time. You think Jackson Chourio will still be a Brewer by that point? That seems hard to believe.
Not everybody's Robin Young.
No. And that was back in I know that was in the free agency era. He started right around the time that began, but it wasn't quite to the player movement era of today.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you're the Packers and you're going to take a bet on one running back, you're going to let the other one go, understand that one of your rivals may choose to pick him up. Mm-hmm. That the Packers allowed that situation. That's not a knock on the Packers, but they did allow this situation to happen.
Yep.
And apparently everyone is collectively okay with that. I don't expect Packers fans to be cheering Aaron Jones if he's getting touchdowns. You shouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm. And I honestly feel like Green Bay will do an acknowledgement before the game. They've done this before. Please welcome back Aaron. They did it with Mike McCarthy when he was head coach of the Cowboys. I was there when they did it with Charles Woodson. They'll do that regardless if he plays for the Vikings. I don't think they did that for Favre. I'm not sure. I wasn't there for the first one. They didn't do that for the second time he was there because I was for that one. But I think they're going to do an acknowledgement before the game.
Yeah,
he's on the field during warm-ups. The camera will be on him. Lambeau Field, please welcome. Bill Jarts will go on the public address announcer for Lambeau Field. Go, please welcome back Aaron Jones. Put up a little highlight thing or some stats and he'll wave.
Cheers, some
that.
boos.
Yep.
Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I don't think he'll get booed initially. I don't.
There'll be a smattering, if you will.
Maybe some cold-hearted, black-hearted fans out there.
Yeah.
But
or the
you're
ones
right.
that aren't like looking deep into this and going and understanding. They're just like, you went to the Vikings, you suck.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. Player rivalry. Okay, fine.
But you're right. As soon as that game starts, though, you could boo them.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Yep.
Right. They're your rivals. The point is to have the Packers win the game if you're a Packers fan. Duh.
Because this is also different. I know it's probably not the greatest comparison, but this is also different than Craig Counsell. Craig Counsell chose to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
He chose to leave. Aaron Jones did not choose to leave. He got cut. They weren't bringing him back.
You can't put a qualifier on it. You're cut. Also, you can't go to. Doesn't work that way.
Right. And it wasn't like he was, okay, we're going to trade you, but we're not going to trade you to, the Favre thing too. But it's different than, Counsell chose to leave. So that's where I understand where he got a smattering of boos. Going to the division rival because he chose to do that.
Yeah.
That's similar to Favre going to the Vikings.
Yeah.
He chose to go to the Vikings.
He very explicitly wanted to go to a rival.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. As far as I know, there weren't comparable offers for Aaron Jones. So, unless you think Aaron Jones should have sat out the year at his prime.
Well, and I think you got to look at the age factor of it too. He's 29 and a running back. That's time's running out.
Right.
Let's be real. Time's running out.
It's a minor miracle he's still performing as well as he is at this point, given modern era running backs.
Mm-hmm.
To be real.
Yeah.
And we figured his performance was going to decline. Well, so far is looking pretty decent. Let's see if his body holds up too. I don't know if that's going to happen. Actually, the reaction, that last line, no G on the helmet Sunday, always one in my heart. I actually could see some Vikings fans reading that going, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like this is a Trojan horse thing? No, what he's saying is he very much enjoyed his time there, and that's what that is. He's a pro. He's going to do well for the Vikings. And I'm going to be cheering him on. I think it's awesome that he's a Viking right now. I liked him as a player with the Packers. So I'm very happy to see him performing well with the Vikings. Mm-hmm. And I will always be cheering him on as long as he's a Viking. And wherever he goes next, fine, whatever. Maybe his career is done after his time in Minnesota, given his age.
Yeah.
But fine, I'll cheer him on. Good. That's sports fandom. There you go.
I'll just kind of read like the last paragraph. That's the biggest thing I want to write here, not just to the Packers organization, but really to all of Green Bay. Thank you. It's going to feel strange being on that visiting sideline for the first time and being on the other side of the NFC North thing in general. but it's all love and it's so much gratitude. Thanks for betting on me, riding with me, hashtagging for me, and everything else. So, yeah.
Mhm.
And he was talking about that a little bit before when his father passed away and how Goody and Matt LaFleur and Ben Simmons, the running back coach, all flew down for that too.
That was really good to see.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I'll be honest, though, too. I feel a little bit better that he wrote this. Because, for
it
me...
looks like he wrote it, too. It's
right.
not a statement.
Right. It's... Because I'll be honest with when I was like, oh, come on, I don't want any sort of, like, chalkboard material. I don't want any more, like... And I didn't know if he was going to do this or not, but, like, any, like, comments like, yeah, I'm a lot happier here than I ever was. I didn't want any of that, and I'm like, I'm going to hate... I actually feel a little bit better that this is out there now. Because he is one of my favorite players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been fortunate to interview him a few times too. And everything that you have seen on TV or you hear is exactly how he is. I mean, he literally answers every question, yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, sir, no, sir. It's that military background, just a stand-up person. And so there was that part, I was like, oh, crap, I don't want to see this. This is going to hurt. And, and, oh, there's this. He's saying this. Is that a shot at Green Bay? I actually feel better about this now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, okay, it's kind of calmed maybe some of that stuff that was in there. That fan part of me coming out.
Yeah.
So, but, gosh, I still love 33. I still love 33.
I mean, he did a lot of good for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a Packers fan, be good with that. I mean, I suppose the one nightmare scenario is that Aaron Jones has some key play that either knocks the Packers out of playoff contention or knocks them out in the playoffs. But short of a situation like that, it's a pretty extreme situation. It is what it is. He's good. He performed well with the Packers, and he'll be thought of as a great Packer.
I love the one little story he told, and he tells a few stories about, when he first got into Green Bay and such. And I think this probably goes back to a lot of Packers fans' angst towards Mike McCarthy when Aaron Jones first started his career. But it was Aaron Jones here talked about, there was a couple guys were hurt, so he got his shot, and he was playing pretty good. But he says the next few weeks, both main backs were still out, and I played really well. Pretty soon they got healthy, though, and I went back to not being out there as much. In my head, I'm thinking I had a nice moment. Maybe it's over. But then I'll never forget there was this one drive later in the season, and out of nowhere, A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers, calls timeout, turns to the sideline and yells, I want 33 in the game. I want 33 in the game now. And I think that kind of, because I remember a few years ago, fans were like calling out McCarthy, like, why isn't Aaron Jones in there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Aaron Rodgers was agreeing with you, a lot of fans.
I would love someone to figure out what that play was. That's going to be very difficult to accomplish. But if someone can, I want to see if we could go back to the game tape and be like, what was that moment?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
be really cool.
Yeah. So, I can easily say, like, Jones is easily one of my favorite players that is playing on a rival team. Like that one pains me to see. It pained me to see Favre though too, and that was more anger right away. This one just like stinks for me as a fan. I was pissed at Favre. This one I'm just sad, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I remember we were talking about this one. I think we were talking about this when Jones went over. Like, is there a comparable the other way around? And there really isn't, honestly.
Because I mean, Longwell going over. I mean, that was a kicker, so I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, kicker. I'm good. I don't want to downplay him. Good kicker, but it wasn't,
Yeah, that was one of the best examples of some. I mean, outside of Favre's 2009 season, that was one of the best examples of someone that went east to west and still performed really well. Wasn't a leftover, if you will.
Right.
Most of them were on the downsides of their careers. I mean, Aaron Jones is on the downside of his career. Unless he's got suddenly going to do a Frank Gore on us and surprise us, we're not going to see peak Aaron Jones going forward.
Right.
Maybe, but probably not.
Right. He will be in the Packers Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
One day.
Fair enough. At some point, that's going to happen. We just got to get past the fandom of right now, and it's going to happen.
Yep. Exactly. So. All right, tell you what, let's regroup and we'll take a quick break here. So we'll do that. Quick break, maybe. See, it's so hot in here, the computer doesn't even work either. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Got to give. I want to give. I'm going to use this platform here for my own personal benefit right now. Got to give a shout out to our flag football team last night. 3-0, picked up another dub last night. So shout out to the boys. It's all them. They're putting in the work. They're getting better every single week. So
The Minnesota Vikings of your fantasy football league.
not fantasy.
Or sorry, flag football. Sorry,
Yeah, not
the
fantasy.
Minnesota Vikings of your flag football.
No,
league. That's true.
We're
Both
kind of
of
like
them.
we're kind of like Matt LaFleur right now. We're opening up the playbook, so we're getting it done right now.
Who's
so.
the Malik Willis of your team?
Oh, we don't have set position. We let every kid play every position. So
Nice.
yes, but nice job last night, boys. So on to next week, though.
Would those
On
be
to next
11-way players?
Like 5-way play. We get
Only
five
five
play at
So
a time.
5-way.
So.
Okay.
Yep. But no, nice work, boys. They got the job done. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
we're due. Most importantly, they're having fun and they're getting better every week. That's all that matters.
Nice.
Doesn't matter about wins and losses, but don't tell that to a little youngster. They keep track. So
Of course they do.
So.
Yep.
yeah. All right. Let's should we go back to a little baseball talk here?
If we have
First
to.
of all, let's catch up on a couple texts here. This was from John. We got a few Johns from Eau Claire. Like literally, I've got I think 3 up that say John from Eau Claire. And
Sup, John,
is
and all these people
spelled-
like, hi.
yeah, and John is spelled the same way. Aaron Jones is above all else an honorable man, right down to his socks. John from Eau Claire. Rodney, why does it seem Vikings pick up old Packers, but we don't pick up old Vikings?
Yeah.
That's I think brought up every year at that
It's
point.
true.
The other John from Eau Claire says, does Aaron Jones get booed Sunday? In my opinion, I don't think he does at first, but during the game, he definitely will. I think,
Yep.
I don't think it'll be loud boos, but at kind of what we already talked about.
Yeah.
He also said Mike Trout is a good example. Do you think Mike Trout stays with the Angels through his career? There's part of me that feels like he's going to finish somewhere else, like Albert Pujols-esque.
Does a certain point come where he's fed up with that organization?
Or is the organization fed up with him because he can't stay healthy now either?
Maybe. But then that leads to like a collective, no one does anything, and Mike Trout ends up retiring as an Angel.
Yeah.
I would think he'd go somewhere else. Mike Trout's going to be the one example of a guy that sticks around.
Mhm.
That's contrary to what seems logical. He's going to be an Angel for life, probably.
Mhm.
And we're all going to be like, what could have been?
Who's the next Bartolo Colon? That just
Oh my gosh, the complete opposite. Or
Yeah.
Gaylord, if you wanted the old school example, Gaylord Perry.
yeah.
Remember the jersey with all the patches
Yep.
of all the teams he played on?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think if somebody called up Bartolo right now, he'd be interested in pitching, maybe.
he probably would.
Especially if it's a team he hasn't played on yet, just to get it off the checklist. We talked about ballpark tours last week. How about players trying to check off the list of how many teams they played on? So
Bartolo Colon has played for Cleveland, Montreal / Washington, we'll just say that, the Sox, White Sox, and the Red Sox, Angels, Yankees, A's, Mets, Braves, Twins, and Rangers.
that's 11 teams.
It's a lot.
Is that the most
Um,
in modern day?
let's see. Does it say up near the top? Doesn't say that that's a record necessarily. Player played for most baseball temes. Does it have a Edwin Jackson? That's right, 14.
Edwin Jackson. I forgot about him.
Edwin Jackson.
Oh
Never
my
played for the Brewers
goodness.
nor the Twins.
Okay. Edwin Jackson. Wow. All right. There's your Edwin Jackson nugget for the day.
Uh-huh.
Holy moly. I forgot about that.
Yep. Edwin Jackson.
That wasn't that long ago.
No. Octavio Dotel, close. 13.
Okay.
Mike Morgan at 12.
I think Bartolo, does he just kind of get more of it? Because, I mean, it was really at the latter age of his, and it was like every year. Or
And he
even
was
within the year.
performing well
Mhm.
in his latter era.
Yeah.
Ron Vallone, may remember him from the Brewers vaguely. And then we're down to the 11s. So like Miguel Batista, Royce Clayton, Dennis Reyes, Julian Tavares, Rick White, Todd Zeal. And then you're down to like 10 and it goes a long ways. after
Mhm.
that. So yeah, Edwin Jackson would be the record holder.
Interesting.
See, so Bartolo, you have incentive to come back,
You do.
get up to the record.
It's kind of like the
Big,
Yamir
sexy.
Yager.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Which NFL players played for the most teams? That's tougher, I know.
I mean, longest has got to be George Blanda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, oldest. Again, George, okay, how old was George Blanda?
Wasn't he like 40, 49, 50 or something like that?
Yeah, again, like
Gordie Howe was up there, though, too, when he got done playing. But
he retired at age 48. He was 2 years older than me. And again, George Blanda looked like he was 70 at that point.
I love, by the way, these old 80s basketball photos that sometimes come out, and like that dude played for the Bucks. That dude played in the NBA. There was one I just saw the other day. I think bald in the middle, curly hair on the side, stash.
Okay, are you talking about Paul McKeskey?
Maybe.
He is the gold standard for that. And I remember McKeskey he wasn't the top player of the mid-'80s Bucks, but he was a solid player on that team. He's one of my first NBA memories. Yeah, the curly hair and the stash in the 80s.
It is Paul McKeskey. Yes. Yep.
McKeskey was a classic.
You know exactly. Yep, that's who I'm talking about. I mean, come on.
How would you say
Where are these athletes today? We need these athletes today.
Paul McKeskey, by the way, nowadays, no mustache and regular hair. Like if you saw him now, he looks like a basketball coach, which is what he is, 67. Well, he was a basketball coach, so he's retired. Yeah, Paul McKeskey, 83 to 89. That's a pretty good stats.
Yeah. Kansas University played at too. So I mean, why can't we have these athletes that look like us? Can we go back to that? I still want some hope that maybe one day I can make it.
Hey, better to look good than to feel good.
And then
dress for success.
Yeah, I mean the old school, knee braces too that I can just pick up at a department store and put on, and it's like I'm playing some Y ball right now. Let's go.
Yeah,
come on.
Josh Johnson would be your record holder for the NFL.
Oh, that makes sense.
Current Ravens quarterback.
Yep.
Josh Johnson.
Yep.
Also never played for the Packers nor the Vikings.
Yeah. Man. So
nor the Bears. Once with the Lions. So just
I remember the Lions one. Yep.
Just a cup of tea in the NFC North.
Okay.
But yeah, Josh Johnson would be your NFL record holder for most teams.
Interesting.
He is at 14 as of now. Given that he's 38, probably almost out of time, but also given to where the NFL quarterback situation is right now, would not rule out a 15th or 16th team in the near future.
Yeah, resurgence, baby. So, but gosh, yeah, I don't know why. I think I saw it on social media. Somebody, it might have been like the account 70s Sport or something like that. You follow that one?
Super 70s Sports?
Yeah.
Yes.
It might have been something like that I saw it on there. So, put Paul McKeskey.
Paul McKeskey. Ish Smith, by the way, the NBA record holder. May remember his time with the Bucks. 13 teams.
Timmy with the text, McKeskey paired with Randy Brewer was classic.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was excellent. Show that to kids nowadays. Like, yep, these were NBA players and they were good.
Yeah.
They were good. I mean, they maybe not all the time, but they were good.
Oh God. Yeah. I'm looking at pictures now. Now we're going down a rabbit hole here, bro. Oh, yeah, the receding hairline as he got a little bit older, too. I'm looking at his T-Wolves card. Fleer 91-92. Yep.
There's some
dude had his own poster. It's on eBay if you want to. Oh, it's an 8x10 autographed where it's half and half. T-Wolves, Bucks, Randy Brewer.
Look up Brian Winters from the Bucks, too.
Do you want this poster? It's $15, free shipping.
Yeah, you know what? I have Randy Brewer on a poster in my office right now.
Do you really?
For real. For real. It's tucked behind the door. You can look at it after the show if you really want to, because when I went, I think it was when I went to the one. No.
Brian Winters with that full beard. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Before the whole James Harden has a beard, check out Brian Winters' beard. If you want an old school beard, there you go. Back before it was like the in thing for everyone to grow like a 2-foot long beard, Brian Winters was doing that in the late 70s. It was when I one game at Williams Arena. I think it was that they were handing out, because it was the anniversary of what's still the last official Big Ten title for the Gophers men's basketball team. It was 1982. Michael Thompson was on that team. Trent Tucker was on that team, and Randy Brewer was on that team. And so they have the poster with all the players on there, and then I threw it up on my wall in the office. And so, yeah, I do have Randy Brewer on a poster. He has a full head of hair.
Wow. All
Pre male pattern baldness.
right.
Receding hairline.
Our good buddy Mark with a text. I remember a day back in the 80s playing golf at Princeton Valley. Saw this monster-sized guy across the golf course. Later found out it was Paul McKeskey, who was in town for some reason and playing golf. Not some special event, just out playing golf.
He's just here.
The thing is like, yeah, he probably looked like everybody else too, right? I mean, besides his size,
right?
You know, but you cut off a few inches, he probably looks like you just met him at the bar or something.
That's great. By the way, Mike Sillinger, I don't know, NHL record holder, 13 teams.
13, okay.
Played in the 90s and the aughts.
Okay. Yeah, because Yager, I mean, just like a couple teams. He just played forever.
And that's the thing. He's stuck around. He's basically the Julio Franco, only.
Julio Franco, yes.
The difference being that Yager at his peak was one of the best in the NHL. I mean, Franco was good. Yager was sublime.
Mm-hmm.
And he keeps playing and playing and playing. Is he still playing?
He's got to be playing in Russia or some Czechoslovakia thing. I have to imagine, right? I mean, come on. He's somewhere. He's somewhere. Give him a frozen pond and he's out there.
Like his Wikipedia page, playing career 1988 to present. It's not listed as done. Well, he did. Oh gosh, this is almost breaking news because this came out 6 days ago in the New York Times. He announced, I'm sure some people listening already heard this, he will retire after this season.
Retire from what though?
Professional hockey.
Okay.
He is not going to play
professional to being the key word.
Right.
Because he could still be playing at a lower level.
Conceivably, he is back in.
Do they got like Y leagues in Russia?
Well, he's actually playing back in the Czech Republic.
Okay. Do they got Y leagues in the Czech Republic?
Let's see. Where is he playing? He's for Rytíři Kladno, which is a member of Czech Extraliga, which is the top flight hockey league in the Czech Republic. So no, he's playing like legit hockey over there.
Interesting.
Gosh, of course he is.
Why not? Right?
Yeah, like he's either rec league level or he found his way to the top where he is. There's no in between for Jaromír Jágr. 52 years old.
Man, and Gordie Howe was 49. Was it when he retired?
He was playing up to like 1980, I believe. Because, 1928, 58, because when he retired, was with the Whalers. And, he, in the WHA, so he played up to like 79. Or is it 1980?
Either way, he was up
there. He played the 79-80 season, so he played into his early 50s.
Mm-hmm. Our good buddy Illini Greg, who now lives in Green Bay. He's streaming us now over there in Green Bay, Illini Greg. He's also... Illinois and Chiefs fan. He said, even I didn't have my Illini at 4-0 and ranked going into Happy Valley in week 5. But here we are, house money game this week. Point spread is huge. What do you think? Also got to say, actually living in Green Bay has me a Packers fan now, number 2 behind the Chiefs. Let's have a fun Super Bowl. So, well, I mean, I will say this, obviously, what's going on with your Chiefs. I know they're undefeated, but Taylor Swift has ruined Travis Kelce for fantasy owners.
Obviously.
I mean,
obviously,
I think there's let's call it what it is right now. His career's done.
Yep.
Well, he's probably going to now that people are talking about it all over. He's probably going to have a $150.
Why you got to be so mean?
Okay, Taylor.
See, of course, anytime you have a Taylor Swift discussion, you have to throw in a lyric or a song title. It's
out there now. You got talking heads talking about it now because he's off to a slow start.
Yep.
It's out there.
All her fault.
Yep.
Knew it all too well.
Mm-hmm. You belong with me.
Wow, even you're getting into this. I like this.
No, God,
I'm not a Swiftie. I just funny telling.
I really had to dig deep for that one.
Well, but you got it. That's the important part.
Mm-hmm. But back to the question. Illinois got to be one of the biggest surprises in college football, right?
They've been trending up, but so far, really good.
Is Brett Bielema pining? Badger fans pining for the Brett Bielema to come back, for the Brett Bielema era to come back.
I'm waiting for that. I was pondering that over the weekend. Well, no, over the past week, I should say. It was like, we're going to get Bielema nostalgia because, I mean, they seem to do better longer than the Fickle era so far. It's still a little early on that, but who would you rather have right now? If you're a Badgers fan and you're listening to the show, text in. Would you rather have Brett Bielema as your coach or Luke Fickell? Let's ask it.
Yeah, I'll let you guys answer.
Yeah.
Let's ask it.
I still think that's an incomplete answer at this point. You think Bielema was proper on saying Nebraska is a tougher place to play than Happy Valley? Going into Happy Valley?
Why do people do this?
And look,
I mean, why do people do this?
Look, Nebraska is a plenty tough place to play, but why?
Why? I mean, come on.
And that alone might be the reason why you'd rather have Luke Fickell as your coach than Brett Bielema.
Mm-hmm. Although JR was making some compelling points yesterday about his frustrations about some of the comments from the coaching staff too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you had a chance to hear it
I
yesterday,
have not,
but
I have not. But is he still similarly sour?
oh
I know
yeah, RJ. I mean, there was and I had missed this, and I didn't realize he said it, but Trussell, the defensive coordinator, pretty much said that scheme is getting in the way of the defense, so they just got to let the players go out there and play. Isn't scheme your job, though, Coach?
So basically, you're saying I shouldn't be doing anything.
Right. Wow. Yikes.
Oh, boy. There's your 2024 Wisconsin Badgers.
I mean, oh, boy. That's yeah.
Bring it, Trojans. Let's go. Come on.
Okay, if Illinois beats Penn State, then we start to really take notice.
Okay, at that point it's different because then he called out Penn State and then backed it up. Now that takes some cojones. But otherwise no. By the way, what's the line on that game?
I'll have to double check it.
Whatever it is, I'm taking Penn State. If I gambled and I
over,
yeah,
did they cover?
Yeah, if I gambled and I don't, but if I did, I would. I'm sorry, Penn State's going to win. Yeah. And this is not going to be like Illinois' season is done, but I don't have a great feeling about this one.
It is. Ooh. I think I'm taking the under. 19.
Oh.
That's high.
I request to revise and extend my remarks.
19?
I'll take the under. I was thinking 16 was about my limit.
Yeah, 19 seems, because yesterday when I checked, that's a bigger line than Wisconsin and USC, for crying out loud.
What's
Wisconsin USC was like 16 yesterday. Let me double check it.
Well, the Bama one
15 and a half. It went down.
The Bama one was 16. We saw.
Wow. Okay. I'm taking the under on that. 19? Okay. Because it feels like, too, it doesn't, this is a very blanket statement, very generic. Doesn't it feel like Penn State screws up a game, though, too, once in a while?
They usually do, but they shouldn't be screwing up this one.
They shouldn't, but...
Because, you see this one coming.
Yeah.
Though I don't know that they have the Northwestern game in them. If they screw up a game, now that I think about it, it's usually a pretty big-time game. So maybe this is it. Okay, I'm going to take the under based on what that is.
Yeah.
But I still pick Penn State to win the game.
Yeah, I'd still pick Penn State, but that 19 line, that surprises me a little bit. Interesting.
Wow. Okay.
What is Georgia, Alabama. Georgia's a 2 on the road, too. They're favored by 2.
That's the whole Alabama's an underdog at home for the first time since 2007 thing.
Oh, God, that's the rallying cry for Alabama right now, too, for jeez Louise.
That is going to be a fun game.
It is. We actually have some really good games this weekend when you kind of look at it. I mean, Louisville, Notre Dame, that's a 15-16 matchup. We've got obviously Georgia, Alabama listed on there too. And then we were talking about Penn State and Illinois on there too. So I mean, we've got a few good games on here that are not bad, a little tasty.
Honestly, this weekend period, that's really good. And the NFL slate is...
There's some really good games on the NFL slate. Oh, and I forgot OK State, Kansas State. That's 2023. So
not bad at all. But yeah, like the Sunday nighters, Buffalo, Baltimore.
Yeah.
Dang.
I will say I was struggling a little bit on my picks. I got to maintain that lead, and it's tough this week. I don't know what to make of Washington
I don't know either.
because they play. Who was it?
Hummies?
Yeah,
Or
they
the
they play the
Huskies?
Cardinals. The
Okay.
Commanders play the Cardinals, and I don't, Cardinals. I don't know. That game was hard. That game's hard for me to pick too.
At first blush, I'll be making my picks this weekend, but at first blush, I don't
Well, you better
know.
be making a pick for tomorrow.
Well, I have to make that one, yes. But yeah, I do my Thursday picks on Thursday, so I will definitely chime in on the Cowboys and the Giants. I will say right now, Cowboys are, I'll give them that one. So I'll make that pick right now.
How dare you? Malik Neighbors right now is killing it.
He is. I think Dallas gets off the schneid. If they lose this game, well,
Mike McCarthy won't make it throughout the whole season.
I guess we're gonna have to talk about the Cowboys on sports media. Wow. Washington. Yeah, that Washington Arizona game is gonna be a tough one because Cardinals are doing better than I thought. Which I guess we just forgot about Kyler Murray. That's totally what it is.
Oh, and finally, it is his job to throw the ball to Marvin Harrison. So,
and Marvin Harrison's doing very well. It's in very early in the season.
Mm-hmm. But
interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely some good games coming up this weekend.
Granted, actually, like it kind of falls off. Like the not good ones are not good ones, but the good ones are going to be very much worth it.
Outside of Green Bay versus Minnesota, which is a good one. What other game, really quick, before we take a break, are you like most intrigued about? Because here's the thing, I've got the list. Saints at Atlanta could be good.
Yes.
Are the Saints for real? Atlanta should be a little bit better than 1 and 2 in my opinion, but that should be a good one.
Of course, CBS gave Nance and Romo Kansas City and the Chargers.
Of course. Philly at Tampa Bay could be good.
Yes.
Jacksonville's season's on the brink, and they're at Houston.
Must-win game for Cincinnati against the newly plucky Panthers.
Yeah. Andy Dalton going up against his former team, man. So,
I think Steelers Colts probably, and gosh, they gave that the Spiro Datus game, really? Given how well the Steelers are playing, that actually is probably my most intriguing one outside of the two big ones, Vikings, Packers, and Bills, Ravens.
Seattle at Detroit.
Yeah, Seattle's got a great DVOA this year. They're right at the top. Their efficiency is off the charts.
Tennessee at Miami is giving me pause too because of the quarterback situation in Miami.
That could be a really ugly game to watch, to be blunt. I don't. If you wanted to watch bad football, how many times do we look ahead to a bad football game and then it ends up not being that way?
One of the best ones of the weekend?
Probably, yeah. But right now, that Tennessee Miami game actually is like the mirror image of Vikings Packers.
Yeah.
Over under on interceptions in that game, 5.5 total.
I'll go under. That's a lot.
I might take the over. Total?
You're taking there's 6 total interceptions between that game.
Between Will Levis and whomever.
Maybe Tyler Huntley.
Yeah. Presuming he makes it through the game.
6 is a lot, dude.
It's a lot.
Basic math tells me you're talking about 3 apiece.
Yeah. Will Levis is going to probably contribute a good amount to that.
And
Tennessee's defense actually is not the worst defense in the world. This could happen.
You want to put a friendly wager on it?
Ooh, what would that be?
I
might actually
bring in coffee next Wednesday.
Okay.
Deal.
All
right. I got the under. You got 6 or more.
Yeah. So 5 and we set the line at 5.5. Yep. I've got the over,
and I got the under.
I'll bring in coffee next Wednesday.
All right, you already called it, so there you go.
I know how this is gonna go.
All right, friendly wager.
Gosh, now you got me watching the freaking Beeb Monday Night Football game.
You're welcome.
Gosh, I have to watch that now.
After you just said you're not a gambling man either.
Come on, Levis, throw it away. Really?
Don't know when to fold them. Don't know when to hold them.
You got to know when.
Yeah, there you go. See, I can get you to do that. I will get you to turn to be a Packers fan now. So.
Only if they come up with a decent
I'm on a mission from God for that one.
It's for the Bears, though. You're mixing up your states.
Come on. Picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. You got Wednesday night trivia nights over there, so head on down there and show off your trivia skills while watching some of these games that we're about to make some picks and predicts on. Baseball, we'll start off over there. Seattle at Houston.
Ooh, Mariners definitely have something to play for at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I say the Mariners get the win.
I'm going to go Mariners too. Let's do...
Most of these games have something to play for.
Yeah, Kansas City at Washington, just because Kansas City still has something to play for. So
yes, definitely so. I will take the Royals.
I'm gonna go Royals too. Baltimore, Yankees.
I'll take the Yankees. Still,
yeah, I'm gonna
officially
go
need to
clinch
the division. They're going to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Yankees too. So, let's go then. Boston at Toronto.
Boston's kind of holding on. I think the Blue Jays ended for the Red Sox. Any real hope?
I'm gonna go Boston tonight. Yeah. Boston. This is a big one. Mets at Atlanta. Chris Sale on the mound for Atlanta. David Peterson for the Mets.
Not going to happen. A 100% chance of rain today, tonight, tomorrow night. Seriously.
Put a dome on it.
It should have. Like, come on. What were you thinking, Atlanta, idiots?
Ted Turner, come on.
Gosh. So I will say nothing happens in that one. By the way, 40% chance of rain coming on Friday. That's the next, maybe day. So basically, the Braves are not going to play today or tomorrow. They're going to be making up games for a while.
They're going to be moving that at some point, I got to imagine. If it gets to that point.
Well, the thing is, it's essentially 2 days, and Friday they probably can get in the game because the rain will taper off by the afternoon once the storm gets out of the way. I love to, you look at Atlanta on the National Weather Service page and it's like showers, rain, tropical storm conditions possible. And they show this big hurricane thing, can you imagine seeing that in the forecast?
Go out there and play.
Here's the 13 first alert weather forecast for tomorrow, a hurricane.
I want to see these two teams go out there, and whoever can score any runs in this thing, I'm picking you to go to the World Series.
Friday, by the way.
Obstacles, overcome them.
Windy. Again, this is when the rain is subsiding. Windy with a southwest wind, 25 to 30 miles an hour.
Well, is it in or out? There's a big difference. If it's out, it's
winds could gust as high as 55 miles per hour.
You know what? If it's out, hit the ball in the air, people.
That's a southwest wind, and the ballpark faces south, so basically no home runs in that game. Everything's going to get blown right back to the home.
You know what? Keep it on the ground, as my old golf coach would say. In little windy conditions, maybe club down. Keep her low.
Small ball. Here we go.
Low.
Bunt.
Yep, keep her low.
Move the players across from base to base. This is how you're going to win.
Will your Twins actually win a game tonight?
Yes, they will.
No, they will not. I'm going Miami.
Okay.
Because they're out of the weather, so they're thankful they're in Minnesota right now.
See? Look, Target Field, totally fine. Just saying.
Giants, Arizona.
Oh, boy. Diamondbacks really do need a win. I think they do get a win.
I'm going to go Diamondbacks, too. Do the Padres continue to make things dicey for the Dodgers?
Ooh, yes, they do.
I'm going to go Dodgers winning after a little hangover from the Padres.
I'm wish-casting on that a little bit, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
By the way, are you ready for the last game at the Oakland Alameda County Coliseum tomorrow afternoon?
That was what was grinding my gears. Jeff Fisher's statement's ridiculous.
Have you seen Larry Beal's rant?
Yep. The sports director?
Yes.
Yeah.
Former Sports Center guy. Mm-hmm. Aloha.
Yeah, it was epic.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not even that over the top. It's totally real. It's probably what most of us would do if we were in the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
Yep. WNBA. Get a couple games here. First round, game 2, UConn. I was going to say UConn.
I understand.
Yeah,
why, yes.
Connecticut leads Indiana. Indiana, Connecticut. Who you rolling with?
I think the Fever get this one.
I'm going to go Connecticut.
Okay.
Phoenix, Minnesota. Minnesota leads the series 1-0.
That game got uncomfortably close. Game 1. I think the Lynx are okay, yeah, we see how this goes. Lynx wrap this one up.
I'm going to go Lynx too. So there you have it. I feel like the WNBA playoffs kind of flying under the radar. I don't know if it's just because a lot of other stuff are going on right now.
There is a lot, and it's spread out a little bit more right now. I mean, when you're like, again, it's like with the NBA, like get 2 days off, and here's another game, and like, wow, that momentum. Hello. So yeah, that doesn't exactly help. Still bigger than it used to be, but it could be bigger still.
Yeah. All right. Who you rolling with for Sunday?
I just do straight win-loss.
Yep.
For this. Packers.
You're going to go Pack? Okay.
Yeah. Which is not necessarily going to be a statement.
Is that with the assumption Love plays, or does
Jordan
it matter?
Love plays. I don't quite know how Flores' defense will do against Love. Like, I don't know. That's not a, I think they'll do poorly. I don't know. I do think there could be just enough turnovers from Darnold, who probably, like I said, I think he has a lesser game, not necessarily a Sam Darnold kind of game.
Bench him.
Bring in Mullins.
Yep.
And I think the Packers seem resilient enough with all of their options. I think they win a fairly close game.
If this was at Minnesota, would you change it?
I probably would, actually. I think the stadium makes a difference in this one. I mean, if the Vikings hold on this season, then already fast forwarding way later on, I think the Vikings would win that second game if they both continue on their path. But there's a long ways to go, so I'm taking the Packers this Sunday.
I already call this. I know it's week 4, but I'm already doing it. Pivotal game 4.
Ooh.
Pivotal week 4.
Wow.
I mean,
before the Brandenburg quarter season theorem kicks in.
But I mean, think about it. I think it's more pivotal for Green Bay than Minnesota at this point, just a little bit. But you're talking about if Minnesota wins, they're 4-0. Green Bay is 2-2, and Minnesota already holds the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
Green Bay wins, matched up records. Green Bay holds tiebreaker just because of head-to-head. So I think it's pretty darn pivotal for Green Bay, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, they don't have the worst case. Like, you got to win. That's clearly the Bengals this weekend. And I know they always start slow, so I fully expect them to come back and be. But you'd rather not that. I think a lot of us forget. I do about head-to-heads.
Yeah.
How it's like that extra game in there, and that could very well make a difference as the season goes along. Plus, again, if the Vikings get through the gauntlet, as we like to say, going forward, oh boy, then it opens up.
Let's say your Vikings, who are 3-0, but let's just say they lose to Minnesota and the Jets and they're 3-2. Are you still satisfied with that?
Yeah, given where they were supposed to be this year. I mean, unless they look horrible, and even then, that's kind of where my expectations were going to be with Darnold. So they'd just be reverting to the mean. So I would be okay. Generally speaking, I'm okay with where they're at.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure. And then if there's an injury, of course, and then that changes everything. Like if Jefferson goes out or Darnold's out or something like that, like, okay, fine.
Right.
I'm wary of the possibly inevitable Aaron Jones injury too. Because I've seen it happen too many times over in Green Bay, and I'm wary that that's coming.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know, but I'm nervous.
It's going to be fun, though.
I was nervous before Tennessee, though, too. It usually means it's a good thing. So when I get overconfident is when I'm like, oh, boy, I don't know. So
okay.
Well, you get to go cool down. I got to stay in here for a little bit yet and roast. So
fun time.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your day, everybody. DP and the Danettes are up next. Let's do this again tomorrow morning, just past 6 a.m. Talk to you then.